Hey guys, and welcome to the SPECTRAL WOLFPACK show, episode 4. Before we start the show, I just wanted to go over a few things that are going down. Like, for instance, on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, the Alabama White Thing documentary is going to be dropping. I guess it's more like a mini doc. It's it's about 18 minutes long, but I really crammed everything in there that I wanted to put in there. I'm going to be doing more witness reports and things, so there might be some more videos coming out in the future on that as well. Also, we wanted to say rest in peace to Art Bell and also Vern Troyer, because those two were made me a little sad to hear. So this week we are going to be going back into the Hollow Earth. This time going more into like some ancient civilizations, some historical things, titans, things like that. And we have our guest, Chris Baird, with us again. Chris, what's up, man?
Not much. I didn't hear about Vern Troyer. I was actually following him on YouTube. So
Dang.
That's sad to hear.
Yeah, that happened, I think yesterday, or no, 2 days ago. But
wow, that just blows my mind. I was following him on YouTube. And then Art Bell, yeah, he's done those AM shows. I mean, he was the one that started off a lot of these delving into the mysteries of universe, Earth, everything.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I know a lot of people in the paranormal community were sharing, rest in peace and all kinds of articles and stuff.
all their thoughts or memories of shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how's your week been since we last spoke about Hollow Earth?
Oh, pretty good. I may have another interview coming up in May, and so I'm pretty excited about that. Had a couple people contact me, just on the flip side, saying good show, and so pretty excited about that. So.
And I think I still want to work on that. We were gonna put some pictures behind it and throw it up on your YouTube channel. We can work on that too.
Yeah, that would be great for the months ahead. Getting some stuff on my YouTube, and I suppose I should talk about all the sites again. The current things, the ways you can get a hold of me or my information is Center Stars channel in the Hollow Earth on Facebook, and that's an actual page. And then there's 3 groups. There's the official Hollow Earth group. The second group is Titans, Giants, and Mud Fossils. And then the third group is Disclosures here, Unlocking Earth's History.
Yeah.
And last week we talked a lot about Hollow Earth, and this week I wanted to delve into a hypothesis that I've kind of put together based on a lot of research I've done of some ancient texts and cultures and things like that.
And that's another thing I forgot to mention at the beginning, guys, is if you ever miss a show or anything, you can always go back, and they're all up on the Spreaker, and you can also download them if you want to, play them in your car or whatever. So, Chris, you were telling me that you wanted to mention something that we forgot to talk about last week about night and day in the Hollow Earth.
Yeah, there's a couple things I wanted to talk about. A lot of people ask, why am I not seeing holes on the planet when I look at pictures of the planet?
Yeah.
The thing is, knowing the actual locations is the number one thing. You have to know where to look. One of the holes is in the Baffin Bay area, which is between Greenland and Canada.
Okay.
And you will see on some images where you'll see a hole. Other images you'll actually see what I call a mock-up zone. But what it is it's like a square box or a rectangular box or a circle that blurs the area to not show the actual hole and make it look like it's the land around it or cloud cover or those sort of things. If you look up Antarctica, you'll see a spot where it'll be a circle and things like that, right where the hole is located, based on the pictures I show in that video. If you look up Chris Baird theory on YouTube, there's about a 30-minute video that shows all those holes and entrances. Another thing that you can look for is vortexes, and what I mean by that is you'll see a clear, almost like twisty tornado reaching up to the top of the atmosphere, and it'll have a cloud, and most often that cloud, because of the way it twists, looks like an eerie kind of creepy ghost face. And then from there, sometimes those will feed off to other tubes, and those tubes will feed off to other tubes. And the name of those tubes I gave them was called a hollow earth opening air exchange vortex tube, which is a lot to put into it, but that's the way to describe it. HEOAEVT. HEOAEVT. And again, that's hollow earth opening air exchange vortex tube. And what it is while one pole, hole, or entrance, depending on where it's located, is intaking air, another hole or opening will be letting steamy, moist air out of the earth. And in some cases, they will connect together in an enclosed loop. One is letting out steaming air. It's going high up into the atmosphere. It's condensing and turning into cloud vapor and riding along in a twisty, tornadic tube and then being sucked in again. A lot of our weather in the United States, our wind direction is driven by air that flows from the warm, moist Pacific over the United States and then out towards a Atlantic hole that may be the cause of some of the anomalies that people experience in the Bermuda Triangle, and also the Red Baffin Bay. And those are intaking a lot and pulling that warm, steamy air down into the earth over there and driving our wind direction. And sometimes more holes are active depending on the location of Earth in orbit during certain times of the year. So when we're having winter up here, our Arctic vortex is in full swing, and vice versa. Everything is slowed down at the South Pole. It's summer down there, and then when it flips and the sun is more up north, we have less wind, and we have just clouds going around in any direction, even against the natural wind direction. But again, when it becomes winter up here again, we get that strong east to west wind direction. So the thing I wanted to touch on with the hollow earth that I missed out on explaining is that the inner sun, which again is comprised of metals just like our core, the way it has day and night is it has slag. When you smelt metal, you get this dark kind of crusty material that floats on the surface of it. And my hypothesis on that is all the slag coalesces and condenses to one side of that ball, and that's towards the highest point of gravity in our solar system, being our sun. So when it's daytime out here, it's nighttime inside of the earth, and vice versa, which actually works to their advantage as well. When it's daytime out here, it's nighttime in there. They're sleeping while the sun is below their feet, or would be dragging them down. And then when they're having their daytime, it's our nighttime. Above them is the center star and the sun on the other side of the planet, and it's lifting them up at the shoulder, which helps create them into the giants that they can become. That and the less gravity in the crust versus the gravity at the core center star that is pulling them up at the shoulders. Another thing that I didn't touch on is the age of these giants. They can live to be about 1,000 years old inside the earth. And if you notice, and I'm not saying that any religion is right or wrong, but in the Christian Bible it talks about how Adam and Eve lived to be about 1,000 years old.
Uh-huh.
And then each generation it dropped off from there. Well, let's say that they were an emerged group of people, and that's what the Bible wrote about. Of that will start to work on the bodies and make it to where generationally they'll slow down in age, they'll shrink in height, and they'll die sooner. And so that's what I wanted to touch on before we get into today's stuff.
Yeah, that's all some interesting stuff to think about. That water down there sounds delicious to me right now because I've been hiking all day and stuff.
Oh yeah, well, it goes through the aquifer and it's filtered through the many layers all the way through and pulls out, and it comes out in big, huge, fresh aquifer mineral springs inside the earth and exits the poles. You know, when it freezes that deep blue, really clean, mineral, fresh, crystal clear water. People spend big bucks to go up there to just cut chunks off and bottle that water and sell it for tens of thousands of dollars per bottle. So
I also we talked about this a little bit the other day, not on the show, but how I went on Google Earth and try to look at the North Pole. I mean, they just have water up there is all that they show on the North Pole. And then Antarctica was just like a little snow patch, and they didn't really show much detail or anything. Which
yeah, I noticed in this latest post I put up about those hollow Earth air vortex things is they show, like, if you look at Antarctica, you've got one side that kind of looks like a face, kind of, and the other side looks like a Millennium Falcon.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird. And Google seems to like completely not show the face part at all, or it's all blurred out, and only part of the Millennium Falcon in at least the picture I looked at. But the start of this vortex, if you look, it's exactly where that blurry region is, and where it's located in the other pictures I've gotten online.
Yeah.
So what I came to talk about today is like I said, a hypothesis based on understanding hollow Earth and how we can relate that to everything we've been told and change things a bit to maybe understand Earth history a lot more. Basically, where I want to start is, you know, with NASA, when they're finding all of these planets and these other solar systems that are Earth-like, I don't know if you've noticed, but they're finding that the Goldilocks zone type planets are massive.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? There's not very many Earth-sized planets that they can find. Not because they're not detectable. They weren't detectable about 10, 15 years ago, but they can detect small planets now. They've honed it down to where they can. But they're not finding that many. They're just finding large planets.
Yeah.
Almost like binary sun size within the Goldilocks zone and just beyond it, and other large planets. Small planets seem to be a rarity. And so what I want to get into with that is Zachariah Sitchin said that there was a planet in the asteroid belt called Tiamat, and that there's a hypothetical solar system that orbits our own that includes one planet named Marduk, which is an iron red giant planet, the other one being Nibiru.
Yeah.
And then when we toss in the Hopi side of things, which I'll get into later, there's also like a blue dwarf star, or other people think it's a red dwarf star. One of the two. So a two-planet, one sun system that actually orbits ours over a long distance. So this planet Tiamat, he said that Marduk came in and hit it with a glancing blow, assuming it was solid, and that glancing blow ripped off that part of the planet, ripped off all of its moons and took off with them, and what was left was Earth, damaged Earth that crumpled down, and then according to the Sumerian tablets, that Kingu which is our moon, Luna, came into orbit.